Hi, in this section we'll be talking about React Native, and I will explain why I picked React Native for our development for our mobile application and why it might be useful. The first reason why React Native, not the other solution we might have, it's a cross-platform. What does it mean cross-platform? That means you can write one code and it will compile into both Android and iOS. That's very convenient, but it's not the only framework that does that. You have other frameworks like NativeScript, you have Cordova and other solution. The reason I picked React Native is because we already know React, and once we know React, we are kind of prepared to do React Native. It's very similar what we've done before, and in fact it's still our React that we know, so many things will be exactly the same as we've done before with a web application, so it's not going to be that different. React has another advantage. It will compile into fully native application. It's not like a, for example, PhoneGap Cordova application that will be web view based, so it's a technology is based on the web view. That means it is a native application, and inside native application you have embedded web page, which is kind of very bad performance. It's much slower than a native solution. So React Native will compile into a native code. That means you write a JavaScript, and that JavaScript will be compiled and prepared a fully native application. And that's very convenient because you write the language you know, and you don't need to write two separate applications for both platforms. So that being said, we can take a look. At the moment we are on the GitHub IO React Native, and if we will take a closer look at the URL here, you can see that's actually domain from Facebook. Facebook creates both React and React Native. So having Facebook backed up on this project, we can be sure that it's not gonna go anywhere soon. So they will be developed and maintained very well. And actually, if you will go here, who is using React Native, you can see a big branch here. So obviously the Facebook application is using React Native, so whatever they do in the Facebook, you can do it as well. You have other things like Instagram, Pinterest, Skype, and so on. So the list is huge, and it's actually, you will see a very powerful and very famous application that millions of users using that. And if they can do it in React Native, that means almost everything is possible. So coming back here, and then we can take a look at the few features what we actually have. So as I mentioned before, we can actually write one code and we can have it on both platforms. And then we can use our JavaScript or TypeScript if you prefer. So you will write JavaScript and it will compile into native. And that's very easy to use. And it's a cross-platform, as I also mentioned before. And then we will have a fast refresh. Once we'll start working with React, then we will be able to see our application running either on your own mobile device or in an emulator or simulator, and I will show you all the different possibilities we have, and you can pick which one is the best for you. So as I mentioned, this is Facebook supported and it's community driven, so at this point it's mature enough to have a production ready application with React Native, because it's on the market for many years at the moment, so there is no risk of investing your time to learn something that might go off the market very soon. So I think it's a solid investment your time in, and React Native is very powerful framework that will help us create mobile application on both platforms, Android and iOS. And I will show you how we can start with React Native in the next video. Okay, let's start creating our first React Native application, and I have to say the process of creating an application can be a little bit overwhelming because you have multiple options to do so. So what I will do is I will show you the easiest way to do it, but also I will point you to the place where you can actually have more complicated setup, but it's more convenient for our developers to do so. So we'll go through that in this tutorial, but we'll start it with very simple application. And actually React Native gives us a solution that we don't need to do much to set it up, and we can use it almost straight away. So what are the options we have? The first option we'll have is the snack. So you can go to the snack.expo.io, and this is actually the place where you can test your application. You can write your application directly in the browser, and you can see it here. So for example, I have changed code in the editor to watch it change on the phone, and you can see it is here. If I will change it something, my text goes here, it will actually update it here. At the moment I have web, but I can also enable that in iOS and Android. So that's like a in-browser way to test the React Native application, and then you can actually share it and export it, and you can build your own almost ready application here. So that's the first way to get your hands dirty on the code and just test it out. If you are not really sure if you want to do it or you want to play with this, this will be the perfect place to do it. In this tutorial, we're not going to use the snack for it. I just wanted to show you that's one of the options we would have. So that's the web browser. As you can see here, it's a snack.expo. What the Expo is? Actually, Expo is an application, and that's available on both markets. So you will have on Google Play Expo application, and also you will have the same on App Store. So if you have a mobile device either on Android or iOS, you can download the Expo client, and that will help you develop the application for React Native. So how can we actually do it? So if you go to the getting started here on React Native, and actually you can access this from the main page. So you click get started here, and you're on this page. So what we have here is we have two options. We will go either for Expo, or we will go React Native CLI Quick Start. So this way you will need to set up your environment in a certain way, and that's not very easy and straightforward things to do. So if you want to have something up and running very fast, Expo will be your choice. So why you might need to pick React Native instead? Well, Expo it's very fast solution for starting coding React Native, but doesn't have that much power as the real solution from React Native. If you want to access native elements on your device, then Expo it's not your solution. It's more limited, and it's more for easier application, I would say. The good thing is you can start with the Expo, and then actually you can eject Expo from it, and then you can move to full solution, which is React Native. Like you have it here. So what we will do first, we'll create an Expo, and I will show you how we can actually use the Expo, how we can write the code, and how we can use it. And then later on you will be able to create your own environment to have it there, and I will come back to that in the next video, because this process might be a little bit complicated. I won't be able to show you everything because I'm just on one machine, and the process is different on every single machine, but I will point you into right direction if you want to go this road. So what we need to do first, we need to make sure we'll have Expo CLI installed. First thing, make sure you have Node 10 installed. So you can go to Node.js. We already done it in the previous sections. So if you have this at least 10 version installed on your machine, you are good to go. So what we need to do is I will copy that, and in the terminal I will just install it. Okay, this is now done, and now we have an access to Expo commands that we can use. So what I will do is I will do Expo and then init here, and that will create a new application. Actually, I will go to first I will go to the desktop, and then I can initialize it. So Expo init is my command. Actually, I don't have to install Expo CLI. What I could do is I could do similar things as I've done with React. So I could use npx react native and then init. So that command will do exactly the same as we've done with the Expo, but with the Expo we can actually have it faster, and then we have other CLI options there. So I will do Expo init, and then we need to name our application. So movie mobile. I will do it like this, so all together, and I will do Expo init mobile, movie mobile. So now we have an option to pick. So we can pick any of these applications. So we can have minimal, we can have some samples. Like if your application will have a tabs that will be already implemented in the application, I will go for a blank, this one, a minimal app that as clean as empty canvas. So there will be a little text displayed on the screen, but nothing apart from that. So I will pick this one. And then we need to name our application, how it's going to be visible on the home screen. So I will do movie mobile. So my name will be movie mobile and the Slack will be all together. So movie mobile. It's fine. And now this React Native is asking me if I want to use Yarn or npm. It detects that I have Yarn installed on my machine, so it asking me if I want to install that with Yarn or I want to install that with npm. I can do either of this. I will use yes here because I do have a Yarn installed and it's not very complicated to do. If you don't have a Yarn, you go to yarnpackage.com, and then you can install Yarn depending on your machine. This will be different. So it's very easy to do. If you want to follow along and use a Yarn, it's fine. If not, just click no here and everything will be exactly the same. So there is not much difference here. I will do yes here. And you can see here we have our application built. So what we need to do here is we can actually we need to go to the folder. So I will go cd, this folder, that's a new folder that Expo has created for us, and now I'm inside that folder. So what I need to do is I need to do yarn start. If you picked not to use yarn in the previous section, then instead of yarn you will have npm. So it doesn't really matter, you can do npm start or you can do yarn start. I have yarn, so I will do yarn start like this. And you can see here this new application has been opened in the browser, so it's a localhost on port 19002, and my application is kind of running at this point. It's not yet displayed on any device, but the server is running at this point. So I have a few choices here, and I will explain you what we can actually do and how we're gonna use it. So the best way for you to develop your application, if you don't want to go with a complicated way of setting up the emulators and simulators on your machine, then we'll be using this QR code. So as I said before, if you have that application, that can be on Android device or it can be on iPhone or iPad, iOS device, then what you need to do is you will have an option to scan that QR code. So what you can do is inside that application you will have a project, and then you can scan that QR code here. And that QR code, once this is scanned, it will actually open your application on your real device, and you don't need to even connect that device with a USB, so it will be wireless. You can have it next to your laptop and it will auto update. So whenever you will do any changes on your code, it will reflect and refresh your application inside. So you need to have an Expo installed, and then once you have that installed, then you will be able to scan and run the application. So this is the simplest way to test it, but you have another option. So what we have here, we have run on Android device simulator, you have also run on iOS simulator, and then you can send a link to email and so on. So this is the options you have, and I will explain you how we can actually achieve those in the next video, and then I can show you how it actually works at this point. Okay, we have our application already and it's kind of up and running, but we had no chance to see it yet. If you, as I said, have a mobile device that you can use, you can actually scan this barcode and you are good to go. If you are happy with that setup, then you can work your application out from this setup, and you don't need to do anything else. But in this tutorial I will try to explain you what will be the steps to take to have that options enabled, and I will enable that and I will use that because it will be more convenient for you to see whatever I'm doing on the screen. It will be actually visible on the emulator or simulator, and instead of my physical device I have on my desk. So I'm not gonna test the physical device, it will be worth experience for this video course, so I'll use the emulator and simulator. And actually I will encourage you to try to set it up the emulator and simulator, because that's actually much faster, better way to do it, and you don't need to have millions of different devices. You can actually simulate the different devices directly on your computer. So what we need to do is if we go to getting started, then you can switch to this second tab, and that's actually when you will have to do some steps depending on your operating system. So you pick your operating system. At the moment I'm on the Mac OS, but you can also pick Windows and Linux. So what is happening here is, if you want to develop an application on iOS, the only way you can do it is on the Mac. So at the moment Windows and Linux, it's not supported, and I don't think it will ever be, because that's the politics of Apple. And I have to say I absolutely hate it how the Apple treats developers that are trying to make a good software for their devices. So they are kind of trying to force you to buy their own machine, and if you don't have it, you are out of luck, and you can't really develop anything on iOS. So that's a really bad thing, and you won't be able to run the simulator. There are a few hacks, but it's not official, and I don't think Apple will ever allow their software development options on the other platforms. So at the moment you're forced to use the Mac OS, and that's the reason I have this machine. Otherwise I will use probably Linux. So if you have a Mac, then you can set up the iOS. If you have a Windows and Linux, then you can set only Android. On Mac OS, you have no problem having both platforms. So if you want to have both platforms, the MacBook is the only option at the moment. So if you want to install the iOS, that's what you will need to do, and you have a list of things that you will need to have, and you can see here some process, and that will be different on every single platform. So if you want to have, like on the Windows, you would like to have Android, you will have different things to install. I will tell you that the easiest way to install any dependencies for either iOS or Android will be to install their native application to develop the native mobile apps. So what is the native tool for iOS? That's actually Xcode, and as I said, Xcode is only available on Mac. So if you don't have a Mac, you won't be able to install. Xcode is a free program that is available on the market on an App Store and you can download this. I have the dummy project here, my first project, open. It doesn't really matter what kind of project is that, because we'll never use the Xcode for developing anything. We'll use React Native, but when you install this Xcode on your machine, that comes with a lot of different things, and you don't need to set up a lot of things. And one of the advantages of having Xcode installed is the simulator. So what I can do is I can go here, and going back here, if I will do run on iOS simulator, it's actually open the simulator here, and that simulator comes with a Xcode. So once you install the Xcode, you will have the simulator here. What's good about this is you can go to the hardware, you can go to the device, pick your operating system, and you have a list of different devices that you can test your application on. So at the moment I am on iPhone 8, but I could pick any other device here and change it. So what you can see here, that's my application loading, and you can see building JavaScript bundle, and that's 10%. You can also see the log here. So what is happening here, once you click that, the JavaScript will compile into the application. In the simulator Expo application will be installed, and you will be able to see your application live in the simulator here. So I will wait until that will finish, and you will see that I can see my application in the simulator. Okay, and that's done. Open an app.js to start working on your app. This is actually something that it is a content of our application. There is not much here because we kind of start with a blank, so there is not much content here. But what you can see here is that I started to run the iPhone 8. This is running on my device. So if I will have it, my own device, scan it here, I will have a list of the different devices. So if you want to test your application on the simulator, like on an iPad or iPhone, you will need to have the simulator installed on your machine, and the easiest way to do it will be with Xcode. Once you will have that, you will have different settings here, and then you can also, this application would help you publishing your apps on the App Store. Without that, it's not really possible. So Xcode is kind of required for this setup. Also, if you will have any problems, I will advise you to go to macOS, iOS, and go through that installation here, and that should be all sorted. So that's a simulator. Another option will be Android. So Android, and then you can, with Android, you can go any operating system, so you don't have to be on a Mac, and then you can install the dependencies. The easiest option to do will be to install their IDE for developing native Android application, which is Android Studio, and that's also free. So you can download Android Studio from the internet, and I have a simple test application here. I'm not gonna do anything here, so I don't need to create application and code it anything here, but once this is installed, it also comes with some tools that I can use. And if you go to tools here, what's important is two things, SDK and AVD. So let's start with SDK, and I will show you what we will need to do here. So what's the SDK is? Well, basically that's the things, the packages that you will need to install in order to have your emulator up and running. So the first SDK platforms is basically you pick operating system for the Android that you would like to develop on. At the moment I have 3 versions, so I have Android 8, 8.1 and a 9 here, and once you have that installed, you will be able to create an emulator with that version of Android on the device. As you can see here, you can go as far as Android 2.1, but usually you want to pick something from the from the newest here. So basically we have the SDK platform, and you need to have at least one of those installed. So the second thing is the SDK tools, and you will need to also have few things installed here. So you will need to have Android SDK build tools, and then you have emulator, SDK platform tools, SDK tools, and then you accelerator for this one. So that's what I have. Sometimes you need to depending on your operating system, you might have other things installed, but that's like a bare minimum what you will need to have in order to have the emulator up and running. And then you have SDK update sites, and then you can also have some updates here. So once that's a lot of gigabytes to install, so it might take a while to download that and install. So the first thing after you install the Android Studio, you need to make sure that Android SDK, you at least have one operating system, Android operating system, and I have all that packages here installed. So I have that installed, so I can close it. But another very important tool that it is available on Android Studio is if you go to the tools, you have AVD Manager. And that's a manager or virtual devices. Virtual device is basically our emulator. So what I have here is I have one emulator, and that's emulator of the phone, an Nexus 5X. And actually I own this phone, exactly the same phone in the physical device. So I just wanted to kind of mimic the same device on the screen. So what you can do is you can create a virtual device here. You can pick if that's a phone or maybe a tablet, and then you have a lot of options here. Once you pick the model you would like to have, then you will have other options, and this option will actually you can pick what version of Android you would like to have it, and so on. Once you will have everything set up here, you will have a list of available devices here, and you can actually run a device here, and you can see here my device is start to loading, and this is the device here. So once I have this device actually available for me, what I can do is I can go here and I can go back here, and you can see here run on Android device emulator, and I can click it here. So opening an Android device, we actually have that emulator here, and you can see here in the same way as we've done it with simulator on iOS, this is now building an Android. Okay. Your application is running here on the emulator, and this is on the Android. So we have emulator on Android, and you can also create a new virtual devices to test it on. Then we have another simulator here. So you can see here I have that on 2 devices, and you can see that devices here. So basically it is listed there, and the third option will be that QR code. I have another device, testing device next to me, so I have an Expo here. If I will do scan a QR code here, and I will scan whatever I see on the screen now. I already scanned it here, and you can see here it's starting to build another platform for me, and then you will be able to see here. That's one of the phone I have with me now. So I have this running here. I have on Android and I have on iPhone. So that will be the virtual devices I have on my computer, and that's physical devices. And if you will take a look here, you can actually have 3 devices, one physical device and 2 virtual devices on the screen running up and running on the same application. So if I will do changes on any in my code in the file, it will be reflected in there. So what I will do is I will Visual Studio Code here, Movie Mobile, and I will come back to the files here in a second. So I will do a quickly change here, movie app, I will save it, and you can see both of them are updating. So I have that available on the simulator here, I have it on Android, and also I have it on my physical device. So at the moment I have 3 applications running in the same time. If I do a change and save it, it will be automatically refreshed and it's ready to go. So at this point we know how to run it, and if you will have any problem setting up any of this, I will go here and go with the dependencies they are asking you to actually install, and as I said, the best way to go will be the Xcode and Android Studio, and it should be good to go with that. But I have to say it's not very straightforward. I had a lot of different issues, and I won't be able to help you because the setup on your computer might be completely different what I have here. So just Google is your friend. Try to find the answer there, because it's not very easy to set up at the first time, but once you will have it done, then you can use it with a very easy way, having that display. So from now on I will have only one device open, and then we'll start seeing what's actually in the React Native project. Okay, in this video I will show you what's actually in the project we have created, because we didn't have a chance yet to look at the files. So what I did is I removed my simulator iOS 1 and I also disconnected from my phone. So at the moment the only build that I have active is the Android SDK build, and you can actually switch in between them and see what's happening there on this tab here, so you can select which one you would like to use. So once we have that selected, you will be able to see some logs here. If you need to see them, they will be available there. Also, they will be available in the terminal here. So you can see here, you have whatever you've done here, you will also have it there. So we can have the terminal up and running here, but I will prefer to have it everything in one place. So what I will do is I will do Ctrl+C. So I'm stopping Packager now. So you can see here, this is actually stopped. What I need to do is I can do Expo start there, but I have my project open here in Visual Studio Code. So what I can do is I can open the terminal directly here, and I can do Expo start, or I can do yarn start. So this is enable again, so everything is ready, and then we can actually run it on Android device here. So in the meantime, what I can do is I can show you the code, and so I will have this application here. So whatever I will develop here, it will be on the emulator on the right hand side, and then we can talk about what we have in the project. So I can close the terminal here. And then we have the list of the folders and the files on here, and it's very similar of what we had in our React. In fact, if you will take a look at that, it's not straightforward that this is React Native. It looks very close to what we had in React, so it's almost the same. So what we have is we have the package JSON. That's the same package JSON as we had in React. Basically, that's a list of dependencies, the different packages that we will need to have in order to run our application. You can see here we are having Expo, React, and then we have React Native and so on. Like here. So basically the package JSON is pretty much the same as it was in the React. We have yarn log because I used the yarn. For having that, we have the bubble, and then we have these two files. I will come back to that later on. And then we have a few files here, like a git ignore. That's for git tracking. So this folder, we know this folder already, that's node modules. So whatever we install dependencies, it will be here in the node modules. This folder can be easily removed and recreated with yarn install or npm install, and it will install all the dependencies using the package JSON in the node modules. Then you have an asset, and then in assets you can actually put your own asset. If you have any images or something like a logo you would like to display here, that will be the place to do. And then we have two folder Expo. We have Expo shared and Expo. We don't need to touch any of this because that's related to Expo. If you don't use the Expo, you won't have that folders here. So what's our application actually? Our application is that app.js. I have it already open here. So I will make a little bit more space here to take a look what's happening. So In our application, what we have is we need to import a React from React. That's exactly the same what we had in React. So basically this is the way we've done it. And then we do also have a function here. So this is our component that we have here. That's the main component. It's called an app, and then it will be displayed here. So you can see here a text that's movie app, and it is displayed there. So what we also have here, and that's created for us automatically, is the style sheet, text and view from React Native. And you can see here a tagging is a little bit different because this is not a web version anymore. This is version for mobile, so we can't really use the same kind of HTML tags here. But React Native comes with its own tag. So for example, if we'd like to display a text, then we wrap it around text. Normally in the HTML you will use H tag like for a heading from 1 to 6 and or paragraph tag. So in React Native you import that text and then you display. Then we also have a view. So view is kind of like a container here, and then we have a style sheet. So what is that? Basically that's our CSS, and the way we write styles in the React Native is like this, and I will come back to this later on because I don't want to go too deep at this point, but basically that's an option for having something like a style component in React. So basically you have your styles, you apply it to the component like here, and then it is available. So if you will take a look at that file, this is pretty much the same thing as we've done. We use the JSX here, we use the components, we'll use similar styles as we have it here. We use similar React import, so there is nothing really scary here. The only new things that you will need to learn how to do is a little bit of different layout, because you can't really use the HTML tags. You will need to use the React Native tags, but this is not a big thing, because once you will master few of them, you will be able to do whatever you need to do, and actually everything whatever is available on the web, it is also available here. And you have some improvements like ready components that are available for mobile, and we'll be talking about them in the future videos. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the things we can do in React Native. And basically in this video we'll be talking about the components, views, and also we'll be talking about the props and states. So everything as we have in React is also available in React Native, so there's nothing new here. The way we've done it in React is pretty much the same, but I would like to show you how we can actually reuse the same kind of logic here in React Native. So what we can do here is, at the moment we have only one application, and if you go to the folder here, actually there is no folders structure like we had in React, so we can create it on our own. And if you would like to follow the same kind of strategy as we have in React, you can go ahead, but this will be more like a explanation video, so I don't really care about the placement of this thing. So what I could do is I could create a new folder. I can call it components, and then inside I will create a new component, and let's say I will call it home.js. So that's going to be my home.js component. So what we can have, actually what I could do is I could copy whatever I have here, and I can copy paste that here. So this will be our home component here, and then we can have whatever we had here before. So basically I duplicate app.js here, and I paste it into home.js. So this app.js, I could remove most of it. I will give it a little bit more space here, and then I will also remove this. So what I can do here is I could actually use a home component here. So it is automatically imported for me. So instead of having that app.js as I had it before, now I have the app.js here, and inside I just render a simple component, which is my home. So I have a component here, and that's basically the same as I had it before. And then we have this is a kind of placeholder, so I don't need to pollute this main app.js here. So whatever I will have in my application, I can have it in a separate component, but that will give us already an opportunity to test some kind of functionality we can use in React Native. So in the same way as we use it with React, we can actually pass some props into our component. So I can say, let's say message. I can say hello from app. So I can pass that as a prop here. And then we can actually use it in our component here. So what I can do is I can accept props here. And then that props, I can display that here. So I will do curly braces, props, and message as I had it before. So I will save it now. And hello from app is here. So basically what I have here, I have some information here, and I pass it to my component, and inside the component I can access that here. So basically that's nothing new. We've done that before with React, so this is more like a reminder of what's possible. In the same way as we had it there, we could use some kind of state. So we can have here a constant, and let's say I will have name, set name, for example, and then we'll do use state here. So that's React hooks. I will need to also import it here. So use state from React, and then we can provide a default value here. So let's say my name will be Christian, like this. So we have our state here, because this is functional components. The way to do it with the class will be different, but it doesn't really matter. We can use hooks in our React Native. So for example, name, I could duplicate this, and then I can use name here. So if I will save it, I can see this is printed. So this is printed basically from the state, and I could also have some kind of logic to change the name, and it will be displayed there. So this is a very simple example of having the different components, and sometimes components are called views in the React Native, and the reason for that is that view container here. So the view basically it's like a div in our HTML. So in React Native we will have views, and we can have views inside our views. So we can think about the views as a container, or as a component, or like just a simple div, and that will contains some content inside, and we can have a different styling for different components. So at the moment we have only one application here with one component loaded in here. So as you can see here, this is very much the same as we've done it with React, so there is nothing new here. Okay, so we have two components now, and in this video I will be talking about styles. So what we have here, I removed everything here, so it's a kind of bare bone container component for the application. So I can close it here, and from now on we'll be working with this one, and whatever we want to add something more components, we can actually import that component here. So what we have here is we already have some styles. I already mentioned about this, so this will be pretty much similar to what we have in React as a styled component. So basically this is nothing else, just a JavaScript object here. So what we use is we import style sheet from React Native, And then in here we have a variable that's constant. So we use this style sheet, and then we have create. Then we open the parentheses, and inside we have just an object. So what is the object here? It's actually whatever we want it to be. So this object, the wording here, like container, that's our own name. So let's say we have this component displaying our home, so I can name it home like this, and that will be home. So basically what I have here is I create a style sheet here, and then inside that object you can see curly brackets here, or I could move it to another line so it will be easier to see. What we have here is just a normal object, JavaScript object. So this object has home, and this home we can refer actually in styles in any component, in any element in our page, we can actually refer it. So to refer to this styles, we do styles equal, and then in a curly braces, then in a curly braces we have styles, which is this constant name, and then home, which is actually sub element here. So we are not really limited to one. What we could have is we could have multiple objects inside. So let's say I will say name. This is my name that I pick for this, and I can do color. Let's say I would like to do green, like that. I will come back to this format later on, and at the moment if I change this, nothing actually changed because I haven't applied this style yet. So to apply this style, I will just pick this text here, and I will do style equal to, and then I can do styles. That's the name I have set up here, and then dot, and I will go inside that folder, and then I will pick the name. So I will go name like this. So if I will refresh it, you can see this is green now because I applied this styles, this object, into this element on my page. So you can see this is how you actually link, and it's very convenient way to do. You have one style sheet, and then you have one object, and inside you might have multiple, and then you refer to that here. So that's very convenient way to do. So what are the options here? Basically they are the same as the CSS in most cases. What is the difference? Basically the difference is kind of notation. So as you can see here, we have a background color of white. Normally in CSS we would have background color like this, but this is not acceptable in JavaScript. So instead of having that dash in between the different words, what we have is we have camel case. So instead of background color, you will have background color like this. And then if you, for example, if you have margin top, you also need to do that notation, and then I can do 30 here. So if I will save it here, you can see I have a little bit of margin. So instead of margin dash top or lowercase, I will have margin top with a camel case. So every new word will be capital letter first. So what else is different? Actually, this one, we don't provide unit here. So we don't provide px. By default, it will be pixels. So you don't have to provide it. This is a simple number if you want to provide it. So it knows that I have 30 pixels here, and it's smart enough to do it on the mobile for us. So you don't need to provide a specific unit, you just provide the amount you would like to push it from. Another difference will be actually this syntax here. In the CSS, what we do is we have simple things like this, but it's not going to work here because this is not readable by for JavaScript. What we need to do is we need to actually wrap it in inside the quotes. So whatever we have the value here like this, if it's not numeric, then we need to write it in quotes, and in that way it will be readable. So you can see here all of them are inside the quotes. So that's the main big difference here, and there is nothing super complicated here. Once you know the CSS, it's very easy and straightforward to catch it with that kind of styling, and you can do it very easily. Okay, let's talk about flex now. What is the flex? And you can see it, it is already here, and the flex is the normal way to create a layout in React Native, and this is very the same as we have in our CSS. So if you are already familiar with a CSS flex box, then you are good to go. You don't need to do anything else here. So basically the syntax and the layout will work in the same way. But in this video I will show you how we can actually use it. If you are not familiar with that, then we can have some exercises here. So what is flex? Flex is the way how we can organize some content on our screen. So basically giving the flex of 1, that means we are telling to our application that we would like to have this container will take the full size of the screen. So basically flex 1, the bigger number you will have it, the more important it will be for the siblings. So for example, if I have a home, that is flex 1, and then I can have another element that is next to it. So at the moment we don't have that situation here, but I have one home here, and then we have 2 tags. So what I could do is I can arrange this children for like this. This home is assigned to the view. So basically all the 2 tags here, that's the children of the view, and I can say, okay, this is flex 1, so the view will take entire space here, and I can align the items in the center, and also I can justify the content center. So if I would remove this here and save it, you can see this. I have the text somewhere over here, and then I have my name here. So I have the padding. If I would remove the padding, there will be somewhere here. So the way to distribute our content in between, we have a few options there, and then we have align items. Also what we can have is we can have direction, either row or column. If I do column here, I need to do flex direction. You can see nothing actually is changed because the flex direction by default is column. I can change it to row. And instead of having that upside down, my content is now row. So that means it will go from left to right. So in that case, I can also do reverse. If I want to reverse it, and my name will be here on the left hand side, and this will be a second, despite the fact this is first in our layout here. So I can do column reverse, row reverse, or just column or row. So basically that you can control. If you have some kind of a header here, for example, and you would like to have some button here, then some text and another button, then you can do a row kind of flex for this setup, and then you can equally distribute this children in here, or you can give them a specific flex power. So for example, the first button might have a flex 1, the main part might have a flex 5, and then another one flex 1, and that will be equally distributed like this. So if we will have let's say I would like to change this for button, and then I will just take it here. Let's try to do something like that. So we have a button, and then we say this is flex 1. So what I can say is this name will be flex 5, and then I can have another style. Text is just an example. I can have flex 1. So now I will need to also apply the styles. So I will explain it in a second what I've done, because I've done things fast, just as a proof of concept here. And what I've done is I have this kind of setup here. So what I have is I have this space here, and that's like a 1/7 of the space here, and that's also 1/7, and they are on the edges here, and this is in the middle here. So that's like a column layout. If I will, this is row layout. If I will change it to column, it will be similar way, but it will be upside down. So the first part, which is power of 1, then we have another one, and then the third one. So how this is calculated in terms of how much space they occupied, basically you will need to sum up all of them. So if I have 2 elements with a power of 1, that's 2, and 1 element of power of 5, that's altogether 7. So this one is 1, this one is 5, and this one is 1. So you will have 1/7 of this one, 1/7 of this one, and 1/5 of 7 on this element. So basically the way to control the layout, you will control it with the flex. Once we will create our own application, we will see how it works in a real world, but basically it's only a few kind of elements that you can work with. So basically we have a flex, then we have align items, and then we have justify content, and then we have a flex direction here, and then we can apply this to different containers there. So that's how the flex works. As I said, we'll come back to this later on, but that's very important thing to know in React Native, because that will be our main tool to create the layout in our application. Okay, in this video, I will show you how we can actually handle user input, and we'll create a text input that user can type in something, and we'll capture that input and store it in our state. So first thing first, I will do a little bit of cleanup here, because it looks very ugly here. So I will remove the styles we had here. And this is much better. So what I can do now is I have a few things here. So instead of that button there, maybe I can move it here. What I can do is I can do a text input like this. And also I need to make sure that I import that from React Native. So I will do another one here, text input, and then I will close it. So what we need to put inside the text input is a few things. Actually, this can be a self-closing tag. We don't need to have it like this. And then we put few things inside. So first thing will be a value. Value, we can actually use whatever we have here. So I can use a value name. We can also have a placeholder. We won't see it here because we will have the value from then this state. So I can say type in your name. So what I will have at the moment is I will have the value here, and you can see here I have two Christian. One is the text style and another one is the input. I can do a little bit of style. And actually another way to do a styles is inline styles. You don't need to apply it here. You can apply already styles already here. So I could say height of 40. but that needs to be in double curly braces. The first one is to inject the JavaScript inside these tags, and the second one is the object itself. So I have a height and then 40, and then I can have more style skill. So for example, background color, and then I can say red. So we have something ugly like this. And so this is the text input here, and I can actually, you can see wherever I click in this, the keyboard on the mobile device is open, and I can type in. So I can use this one, or I could type in something here on my keyboard on my computer. Normally on the mobile device you will have this option here. Why this is actually not changing? Because the way the React works. So basically what we have is we assign the value name from our state, and name is Christian. So whenever we change something, it will come back to the initial value we have here. So what we also need to do here, we need to have on text, on change text, and then we can have a function to that will trigger. So what we can do is we can do an arrow function here. So we can have it a function in this component, or we can have it in inline here. It doesn't really matter. What we can do is we can do set name, and then we can do value of text. And then if I will type in something here, you can see both this and also my initial, I just pick very bad colors here, so I remove them because it's really hard to see something. So I will remove this green there, and then I can do margin bottom instead. So it will be easier to see. So what this is my text here, and this is my input. So if I will change the input here, you can see this one is changing, because what I do is I change the state here, and on change text it changed the state, and this state is actually reflected back in the text input. So this is the way you can actually get the input from a user. What's the other options for getting some input from a user? Another option will be a button. So it will be capital button. And then we also need to do import. And then actually this can be self-closing tag as well. And then what we can have here is we can have on press, and that will be a function. So we can do something when we press that button, and then we can do, for example, alert. That will be another option to show you how actually React Native is handling things in a different way. So alert is very intrusive on web, but it's actually very handy on mobile, and you will see that in a second. So let's say you click the button. So you click the button here, and then we also need to do text, and that's supposed to be a title, not a text. And you can see here I have click me here. So what we can actually do is we can concatenate our string, and then it's like, instead of maybe you, what we can do is we can actually use our name. So name plus click the button. So if I will click it here, you can see alert, Christian clicked the button, and this is styling for typical styling for mobile device. So it will be different on iOS, it will be different on Android, but it's more user friendly because mobile users already get used to that kind of pop-up. So you can see you can have it something like this. So Christian clicked the button, and actually we can fit some variables into this alert as well. So if I will change this to someone, you can see someone click the button. And this is the way you can actually handle user inputs. We can have a text input here that we'll actually use with our state, and then we have a button, and then we have an on press. So things like this making our application more interactive with the user. And usually in the application you will have things like this, so either login or register or anything you would like to send to the database or create new record. You will also need to use this text input and button for sure. Okay, in this video I will show you how we can actually display a list of things. And to do that, I will do a little bit of cleanup here. So what I will do is I will have a simple text here. So let's say I have this name there. I can remove actually this. We don't need it anymore. So we have a home that will be actually one flag, so it will take the full width of it. And then we have align item center, justify content center, that's fine. And then we have a name here. We can call it, let's say, a text. So we will have font size of, let's say, something big, 40. So if I will save it now, and then we need to also apply that change text. I've changed it to text here, so it's not displayed there. So we have a big name displayed there. So what will happen if I will have actually duplication of this multiple times? So I duplicate it like this, and then I save it. And you can see here I have a list of the things, and they are grouped here, but I can't really see any of this. So if I will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for example, you can see 1 and 2, it's off the screen. I don't see it there. And the reason for that is that this is actually, the view takes the whole page width and height, but it's not scrollable. Normally the functionality on the mobile, as we are used to, it's scrollable. So if you would like to have a scrollable content that will occupy the whole page, what we can do is actually we can use scroll view. So scroll view like this, then I can wrap everything here inside the scroll view. So I can indent this. And also I need to make sure that I import scroll view. We don't use this anymore. So we'll import scroll view, and then I save it. And you can see here bar a little bit here, you have it there, and you already see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And whenever you click on this and go up and down, then you can scroll it. Actually, I could remove this two styles, so it will be a little bit easier to see. And you can see here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I have this. So I have typical scroll view. You can see the bar there. So at this point I can actually see all of the content. I could add some padding here and there, and it will be much easier to read all of it. And so that will be the way. If you would like to have more content than on the screen, then you can use something like that. But there are other ways to do it. The scroll view can have any content, so you can have multiple different elements inside. You might have a mixture of images, and then if you have some kind of list like here, for example, we might have a list of movies or something like that, then there is a different way we can use it. So in our case, we can use something like a flat list, and flat list will be more structural than scroll view, and I will show you how we can use the flat list. I will remove this one and we do flat list. So flat list, I will also do it here, and flat list can be self-closed tag, but we'll need to add a few things there. So what the flat is, flat requires some kind of content, and that content will specify as a data. So it will be equal to array. So we have curly brackets, and then we have an array, and inside that array we can have an object. So we'll have key, and then we can have some values here. Let's say value Christian, and then I can have this, and let me duplicate it a few times there. So I can do 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 here. So I have the flat list here, and not like I have it here. So basically this is the any element we would like to have, and we can mix different elements here in the scroll view. In the flat list, it's working a little bit different. So what we need to do is we also need to provide a render item. Render item like this. So curly brackets here. And then what we need to do is we can have an arrow function here, and that will take an item. And then we can have it something here. So let's say we could use the text as we used before, and then we can do actually let's give it a style of this. So it will be style of equals styles that text, and then we can have inside the text, I will close it. Inside what we can have is we can actually print the item that key, which is this one. So item it's the element we will have, and the key is here. So if I will save it now, and not in this display, actually this one needs to be in the curly braces, so that will be an object. What we can do is actually we can have it in line here, so I can remove that curly brackets there, and you will see we'll have like one liner here. So what we have is, I'll make it more readable like this. So we have an arrow function here, and then we have an object of with an item, and then we display for each item will display a text, and we'll apply for each text we'll apply this styles we have here, and then we'll use the item, which is the iteration of this loop, and then key here to display. So I'll save it now. And you can see the list is there. As you can see here, this is very similar of what we have before. I will just duplicate it here a few times. So the difference is not really that much. So warning, we have the children with the same key. So that's why, because I have the 6 here. But the main point here is also scrollable. So basically it's almost the same example as we had it with the scroll view, but as I said before, the scroll view can contain any element inside. So you can have it will be something like a view that you can scroll. So you can have image, you can have an article, you can have paragraphs, you can have a lot of different things. This flat list, it's more for having a list structural. So if you would like to have things like displaying in the table, then it will be perfect use case for the flat list, because each of this item will need to be in the same format, will need to contain the same thing. So it doesn't have to be just a text, it can be image, it's something. But like if you would like to have a list of movies, you may have an image and then next to it the title, and each of the item will be the same. If you would like to have like different mixtures of the content there, so then you will need to use a scroll view. Another option that you might have is instead of the flat list will be a section list. And I'm not going to show you that, but you can go to the reference to check it. But if you would like to have some headings and section inside the flat list, the section list will be your option. And basically you just need to provide, instead of data, you will provide the sections, and then you can have a similar style as you have here. So you feed it here, and then you have the render item in a similar way. The section list, it's a little bit more complicated than the flat list if you need some extra grouping inside. So that will be the two different ways of showing your data if you want to have it. And it's very important to know that both of these options are scrollable, because what we would like to have is the main view needs to be full screen, and then whatever it's inside we can have it scrollable. Okay, in this video I will show you how we can actually use some images inside our application. So it's very easy to do. What I did is I import one asset here. So I have an image of an apple like this, and I have it inside my assets. So what we'll need to do to display this, what I will do is I will inject a new element here inside the view, and it will be an image. So we also need to import it from the React Native. We'll collapse it to have more space. So we have image, and it's a self-closing tag, so I can have it like this. So what we need to do here is we need to provide a source here, and that will be curly brackets there, and then we will do something like a require, and then open parentheses and closing, and inside here, inside the quotes, we can actually have our path. So what I will need to do here is I'm inside the home.js. So what I need to do is I need to step out one folder up. So it will be ... and then I will go to assets, and then I will pick my file. So I will pick it Apple JPEG. Like this. So if I will save it now, you can see something is here, but it's actually so big that I am not able to see that completely. So what I can do is I can actually style it. So I can put some inline styles here. So styles, style equal to, and then we can have another object inside. So it will be double curly braces, and then I can do width, let's say 100, and height 100, like this. And I have my apple here. What I could also do is I could style it a different way. So if I would like to have it being able to stretch and to entire width, what I could do is I could wrap this inside the quotes and then put a percentage. So let's say 100%, and I would like to have it 250 pixels. And you can see it's a full width here, and then we have 250 pixels there. And if we have the flat list here, only the list is scrollable. As you can see here, this is kind of static image displayed there. So you can handle the styling whatever you like, and the important part is the image. Another option will be a background image if you like to have it like this. So you can do image background, and then instead of image we'll need to import this, but it's not self-closing tag. So what we'll need to do is we need to wrap something with that background image. So I will finish that here. So inside the background image I will have my flat list here. So basically this is the same as we had it before, but then I will need to do 100%, for example. I misspelled image background here, so it's an image background like this. So image background, I need to also update it here. And here. And then what I have is I have an image background here, and on top of that, whatever it's inside this tag, and in our case we have a flat list, you can see the background image is covering everything there, and I have on top of that my list. So you have a different way to display images, and you can go to references, to documentation to discover more, but basically you don't need to have a static images here. You can actually load them from the internet as well, so they might be dynamic from here. So that will be the basics of images in React Native. I'm not going to go through all the different components that are available in React Native in this tutorial, because that will be a huge tutorial itself. So we want to have it very compressed and easy to digest. But if you go to the React Native here, to the API, you will have a list of components that are available for you to use. And we used a few of them, but you will have a full reference of the things that are available straight away. So we have buttons, we have images, we have flat list. This is what we already talked about, but we have other things like a picker, for example, and you have snippets, how you can use it. We have, for example, model, and things like that. So if you need to do something like this, then go to the API and you will find probably something already done, so you don't need to do it by yourself. So saying that, that will be a very good reference for you. The last thing I would like to show you before we'll jump into creating our own module is actually a platform specific code. So we can run this on different platforms, and actually we can specify what needs to be done or how it is need to be displayed based on the condition on what platform we are running that on. So let me kind of clean up a little bit here, because it started to be very messy. So what we have here is we have that Apple here. Maybe I can actually make it even more simple. I can do a simple text, and we can have it here, our text. And it is actually up here. So what I can do is I can do line item center and justify content. I will do center as well. So there is our text here. So we kind of get back to a very basic setup, and I can remove this. So what we can actually do is we can specify different things for different operating systems. So what I will do is I will import a platform here, and that platform will contain all the information about the platform we are running that on. So for example, if you'd like to have this background color white only when it's OS, so what I can do is I can do platform .os, and you can see here it will be either iOS or Android. So I can do OS equal to iOS, then do this. Otherwise, I'm writing here a ternary operator. So otherwise I can do, let's say, green. So 00FF00. So we can see here, I'm checking if that operating system is iOS, then do white, otherwise do green. And this is not iOS, this is Android. So if I will do Android, You can see on Android I have white. So to demonstrate it that it's working fine, I can actually run the simulator. So I will run the simulator and I will have the same application display on both different simulators, and you can see they are actually different on each of this operating system. And as you can see here, the same application running on two different devices will have two different styles, because we specify if you have operating system of iOS, then apply green, otherwise it will be white. So this is how you can actually manage, and you don't need to limit yourself into the styles. You can use it anywhere here. So if you would like to have a different text here, we can also do it based on the platform. So we can say here, I can do curly brackets here, and then I can do similar thing as I've done here. So we do a operator, ternary operator, and then we'll do I am on Android. Otherwise I will do I am on iPhone. So I'm saving this, and you can see I'm on iPhone and I'm on Android here. Based on the platform OS, you can decide what will be the content, what will be the different outputs there. Another option, what you could do is I will change this to I'm on Android, simple like that. So it will be one style, and it will be they will have both the same thing. But what you can do is actually you can inject iOS or Android inside the files. So what I will do is I will rename this, and I will do home.android.js, and then I will duplicate this and paste it again. So instead of copy, the second one will be iOS. So we have two components. One will be iOS, another one will be Android. So I'm inside the home iOS here, and this is home Android here. So I'm on Android in there, and I can do I am on iOS. I think this will need to have some kind of rewrite. We'll need to go to app.js, and then we load the home from the components, and that home will be loaded from this home based on the operating system we have. So if I will save, I think I will need to stop my server. So go terminal, I can do Ctrl+C, and then I will run it again. Okay, let me try to do it on the simulator. And we need to build a new JavaScript. And you can see here I'm on iOS. So this is working because we have that inside home iOS I'm on iOS. Inside home Android I'm on Android, so it will be different. So I will need to restart this thing to happen. Whenever you change the name of the files, you need to stop and start your application. So I will need to go to emulator, and then I will kill this application, so clear all, and then I need to go and build a new one. So Going back here, you can see I'm on iOS and I'm on Android. And the way we actually load this one, it's the same from the app.js. So we import home component from components home, but inside we have home Android or home iOS, and React Native automatically detects our operating system and will pick the correct file for us. So we can have two different components. We have a simple, we've changed a simple text here, but the entire component can be different for both platforms. So this is the way you can actually distinguish in between two platforms. If you need to, you can keep both of the platforms the same, but if you need to do something different, then that will be the way to do it. Okay, in this video I will show you how we can change our icons and splash screen, and I will explain what both are and how they are used. So basically what we have here is displayed application, but if you do some changes for a split of a second, you will see kind of icon here, and I will remove that message because we don't use it anymore. And whenever I save it, you will see on the right hand side how this is updated, and for a second you will see some kind of in the middle icon. And I will show you and explain from where this is coming from. So I will save it here. You can see here there was a square-like icon, and it's gone. So basically what happened is this was displayed here as a splash screen whenever we load our application. I have to say this is not fully trustable because the way application works now, it is inside the Expo. If you build your application for production, you will have a different kind of experience. So Expo might not be exactly the same as the normal application, because normal application will see splash screen loading much more performant and better looking. So sometimes you can have a delay of displaying splash screen or not fully sit in the Expo, but it's not going to be an issue in the production version. So from where this is coming from, basically we have a folder here, assets, and if you open that assets, you will see you have an icon and you have a splash. So let's take a look what's inside in this file. So I will open icon PNG, and you can see here this is just a square. It's 192 by 192, and this is a simple icon we have displayed there. And the splash screen, you can see this is actually what we see in for a second whenever we do some changes. We have that one, and then we have a little bit dotted squares like that with rounded corner. So basically that these are placeholders. So if you would like to create your own graphics, you can open any of this file, and you will have some kind of guidance how to create your own logo or your own icon and how to do a splash screen. So basically you can replace this thing with your own. So what I have here is I've created two very sophisticated icons, so I will drag them here, and I will replace whatever what's in the asset here. So I will replace it. So the icon looks like this, and the splash screen looks like this. Very advanced stuff. So what we have now is I've replaced them. So if I will do any changes here, so let me come back to my app.js, and then I can maybe do change like this. I have to kill the application and open it again because it's not gonna work. So what I will do is I will kill the application here, and then I can go to Expo and I can run on simulator. And you can see for a second you saw that icon there. So what is happening also is that outside of this you see a little bit of white. So from where this is coming from, basically the splash screen, is prepared to be displayed in the middle of the screen for a second, and then it's not going to cover the full screen. This is not prepared to be on every single dimension for every single device. So idea is you will display that in the middle, and outside you might have different colors. So how we can control that? If you go to app.json here and you open this, and on the bottom you have, in this file, you have different settings. And one of the settings is splash. So basically, we pick this image, splash PNG, which is our image here, and then you have different resize mode and also background color. So this is the background color white. I could replace with the color I have there. I've created that graphic myself, so I know what is the color. If you are not really sure what are the graphics are, what you can do is you can have a plugin like this, eyedropper, so you can load your icon inside the browser and you can eyedrop it and just pick the color from page. So that's what I usually do if I'm not really sure what is the color, and actually I can show you that quickly. So I will load the icon, and I have that icon in the new browser. I can just pick color from the page, and I can pick it this color. So I know this is the color that I use for my icon and splash screen. Okay, so this is done now. I've changed it for the right color. If I will save it now, probably I'll need to refresh it because this app.json needs to be fully loaded. So I will do that in the second. And another thing is the icon PNG. This is icon that I've created for this application, but you won't be able to see that icon here because the icon is usually that place here. That will be the icon, and also whatever you have in your application here. But we display our application so far in Expo, so you don't see that icon in action. So what you will need to do is whatever you build, that icon will be used as an icon for this application, and whatever you have it in different places. So basically this icon and this splash screen will be loaded and used for your application, but this is still inside the Expo, so it's not really that usable at this point. Also, icon, you can control it from here. So if you would like to put your assets in a different place, then you will also need to change it here. So that's what you have there. And let me just refresh simulator and see if we have that red background outside our splash screen. And indeed we had the full screen red, so that means everything is working fine. So this is it. The way we change it is very easy. We have only two assets here, icon and splash. Normally, if you would like to develop like a native application, you will need to prepare a lot of assets for a lot of dimensions. But this time, Expo is take care of all of it. So if you would like to go for like native React native CLI kind of application where you need to handle that by yourself, then you will need to provide a lot of them in different sizes, in different shapes for different devices. But in our case with the Expo will take care of it for us. So we can use one icon and one splash screen here. Okay, so far we have used only one component, so one screen, but what will happen if we will have more than one? Basically what we need to do is we need to introduce navigation. So how do we handle navigation in React? Basically that's handled by the separate package, so we will need to install a few things in order to work with the React navigation. So I will close this Expo server, Ctrl+C, and now I have a terminal here. So what I can do, I will make a little bit more space here, so we will install things. So basically if you don't have a yarn, you will do npm install like this, and if you have a yarn, then you do yarn add and then name of the packages. So what are the name of the package that we'll need to install? We'll need to do React navigation, then React dash navigation stack and also React-native gesture handler, like this. So basically what we need to do is we need to install three things. So either npm install and then name of the packages here, or yarn add and name of the packages. So React navigation stack and React native gesture handler. So I will install them. I will make a little bit more space. Okay, this is done. If you want to confirm it that has been installed, then you can also open the package.json here, and we are looking for React native gesture handler, React native here, and React native stack. So three things I have installed, so we can start with our navigation. So what we have so far here is we have in the app.js, we just load a simple app here. So basically that's our component, and inside the app we load home. So we need to change the way we do it here for handling navigation and roads. So what we will need to do is we'll need to import few things. Import So we import create app container from React navigation, and also we'll need to import stack navigator from React navigation stack. So basically that's the two packages that we have installed, so React Navigation and React Navigation Stack, and we importing two things, create app container and then create stack navigator. And we'll use them here and we'll replace whatever we have here. So I will create a new constant here. I will name it app navigator, and then it will be create stack navigator here, and inside we'll create an object, and that object I will create my road. So I'll create first road here, home, and then another object here, and then screen, it will be home screen. So basically what I had here is I render home like this. This time what I do is I create a stack navigator and I have roads here. So at the moment I have only one road and I only have a new constant app navigator. So instead of displaying app like this, what I will do is I will use create app container to display that. So what we will do is we'll have another constant app, and that's gonna be our create app container, and inside that app container what I will do is I will load my app navigator here. So basically what I have here, so this one it's not used anymore. What we need to do is we need to export default and then app like we had it before, but we don't need to do a component there. So basically I replace my app component with create app container and I load my roads here. So app navigator, I have it there. So I don't need to have this thing here. So what I can do is I can save it now. Let's do Expo start. And let's run it in the simulator. and we have it here. So basically this is a little bit changed, because what we have here, we have displayed our component here, the home component here, and we have a little bit of header here. This is navigation bar. This is typical whenever we have a navigation in our application, we have built-in navigation here. So what is happening here is normally we have this is typical navigation here. Wherever we navigate somewhere, we will have like back button there, and that's built in. We can also control it, so whatever the colors here are displayed and the text, we have a full control over this. I'm not gonna go full details because that's a huge topic here, the navigation, but I will show you how we can actually navigate in between two different screens. So what we can do here is we can open another, and we can create another file in the components, and I will do, let's say, detail JS. I'm not gonna do two versions for Android and iOS, I will have just one. So I will do a simple component here. So import React from React, and I will do export default class, and then I will do detail, and that will extend React component like this. So inside we need to have a render method, and then we'll return, let's say we'd like to return view, that's supposed to be parentheses, not curly brackets, my mistake, sorry. And then we can display text, details page here. So what we also need to do is we need to import, we'll need to import view and also text from React Native. Okay, so we have another component here, and then the component is detail. So what I can do is I can go to the app.js. Basically what I will need to do is I will need to import this detail from detail. So from here I import it, and once it is imported, I can actually load another road here. So this time it's gonna be detail, and the screen will be detail. So I have two now roads. If I will save it now, you can see nothing will change because the home will be loaded by default in the first thing. So what we can do now is I will open the iOS, because at the moment I'm on iOS. So what I could do is I could have another button to have some kind of navigation. So I will have a button with a title. Go to details, and then I can have on press, and then I can close that button. So I will also need to, and that needs to be capital button. And then I also need to import. So that needs to be an arrow function. We will do props, navigate, and then that's gonna be details. So if I will save it now, We have some errors here. Probably it's not okay. It still remember my old code that I have saved, and I didn't have that finished. So if I will save it now, okay, I need to stop it, and then I will do Expo start again. Sometimes just lock itself. So I'll reboot the application here, and then I'm starting that again. Okay, so here I'm on iOS, and I can click on go to details, and I click in here and nothing actually is happening. So if I go back here, and I think I made a mistake here, that's supposed to be a detail, not a detail. So this was the road here, detail, not the details. So if I will come back here, I click on details, and you can see I have been bring to a details page here, and I have that back button, so I can click it here, and then I can click go to details, and you can see this is a kind of a navigation, a simple navigation that I've done. So you can from that point you can create your own navigation with the different screens that you have here, and you can wrap it with a create app container and the app navigator here. Another thing what you could do is in the details, in the component here, what you can have is you can actually name that screen. So you will do static navigation options, and that's going to be object, and then we can have title, and we will have title detail. So if I will save it now and go here, and if I will go to the details, you can see detail is displayed here. So you can control the name of this specific view from here with the navigating options. Also, if you go to the app.js, inside the create stack navigator, you can control different styles, and you can apply some colors and other things like that. So basically that's the basic of the navigation. You can create navigation like that, and you can have multiple screens that we can toggle in between. Okay, let's talk about a build process now. Well, this process is kind of complicated outside of the scope of this tutorial, because this might be a tutorial itself. So there's a lot of different things that you need to do to prepare your application for a production. So what we need to do is we need to start with two things. Basically, if you would like to publish your application on Google platform, which is Android platform, you will need to have Google developer account. So you can go to developer.android.com, and then you will sign in with your Google account, and then you need to create a developer account, and that costs you $25 or your currency in your country, or equivalent of that money in your country. So basically, once you will have the Google developer account, that's a account for lifetime. So you pay 25 and that's it. Once you will have that, you will be able to access Google Play, and then you can create an application and you can upload your APK file there. So that's been said. You will need to have a Google developer account to publish your app on Google Market. Another thing is what you will need to have is you will need to have developer account for Apple, and this is much more expensive and much more complicated to do. So basically, well, creating an account is not that complicated. You create an account, then you pay for it, and you pay $100 or whatever the amount is in your country. You're paying 100 for a year. Yes, for a year. So every single year you need to pay $100. to maintain, or euro, or whatever the currency you have, to maintain your developer account. If you don't pay it, then you lose access to your applications and you won't be able to have them on the market. So that's really unfair. I don't think it's a fair price for developers. They just want to have extra profit on it, and that's it. So I strongly disagree with their politics, but nothing you can do about it. If you would like to publish applications on Apple Market, on the App Store, then you need to go for it. So once you will have that, the process is kind of complicated. You need to have signed certificates and so on. So that's what, and that is the reason why I don't want to go through all of that on this tutorial, but this will be the way to do. So basically, if you would like to know more what is the full process of building your application, you can go to docs.expo.io, and then you can pick the latest version, and in site manage workflow, if you scroll down, you will see distribution your app, and you will have building standalone applications. So basically you have overview and then app signing, deploy to app stores, and so on. So that's a very useful article. If you would like to publish your application, will go here first and read the articles. So what I can show you instead, I'm not going to build a full application, but what I wanted to show you, it's an example how would you do that. So normally what we have here is we have an Expo. So Expo comes with some kind of built-in functionality, and one of the functionality is to build the APK for us. Otherwise, if we'll use React Native init command, we'll need to handle that on ourselves. So that's a good thing that we use Expo, because Expo can do it for us. So how Expo will do it? Basically, we use command Expo build, and then let's say Android. We can do Android or iOS, and as I said, we are not going to be able to do iOS not on Mac. So I will do Expo build Android, and Expo might actually ask you for an account. So right here in the terminal, it will ask you, do you have an account with Expo? You can create one, so providing just email address, username, password, you can do everything here and it will be done. I already have done it, so it's not asking me, but be prepared for that. It's free, so you don't need to worry about that. So now we have an error. So what is happening here is basically I don't have any information about the build so far. So what I need to do is I will go to the app.json here, and if you scroll down here, you have iOS and then some settings for iOS. What I need to do is I will need to create a settings for Android, and then I need to put a package, and then name of the package. Package needs to be unique. So that means on the Apple on the market there cannot be two applications with the same package name. So usually what you will do, if you own a domain, you will do something like a reverse domain. So my domain is, I own the website which is TrueSign. That's my website. So my reverse domain will be IE TrueSign, and then I can also provide the name of the application, let's say movies, like that. So that will be my package, and that package will be unique because no one else have that domain. So this is my domain and no one ever used it before and can't use it because I'm paying for it. And then name of the applications, you can have under your domain multiple application. So that's Android, and you can do the same package for iOS, but we are not gonna build iOS here. So I will just save it, and then I will repeat Expo build Android. And it's building an application for me. But I have to say also for Android, what you will need to do is you will need to sign your application with a key. So you will need to prepare that. Otherwise, this Expo will produce an APK file that you can actually download. You can give it to someone, and from that file you can install your application on your phone. But you will be as untrusted source. So basically you click it and then Android will ask you, do you want to install application from untrusted source, or you need to go to the settings and enable that. So basically to have a production ready application, you will need to also sign it. So what is happening here is Expo is building application for me, and we can have a handy URL here that I will copy, and I will go to the website and I will paste it here. So what is happening here is basically that's my account that I have on Expo, and wherever you click build, you will need to sign with your Expo account, and then you can have some logs here. So basically the application is being built now. So whatever we will it will do, we can see some logs there. Once it will be done, then you can download the file, and the APK file will be ready for you. As I said, it's not going to be optimized, it's not going to be production ready, because the Google platform won't accept the APK file that hasn't been signed with a key. So we'll need to do that as well. But as I said, if you would like to have that process and finish that, that will be the best place to do. And Expo is great to help you building that for you. Otherwise you'll need to handle a lot of things by yourself. So I would go definitely for Expo because it's much more simpler. There is one last thing I would like to show you before we'll start doing something useful, our own application. So far we have learned how to use React Native, but in the next section we'll build something our own. So the last thing I would like to show you is Eject. So basically what is Eject is a way to eject Expo from our project. So far we used Expo for everything, and as I said early in this section, we have a few ways to do it. So if you go to React Native main page here, and if you scroll down, basically the first thing what they ask you to do is to run this command here. So basically this command npx react native init mytest app will create an application for you, but it's not going to use Expo. It will use a React Native CLI. So if you go here, and I showed you that before, we had two options. We could go for a Expo CLI, or we could have React Native CLI Quick Start. I picked Expo because it's much easier to do, and there is no good reason for having the CLI. But if at any point you would like to have your own native plugin built by yourself and control everything by yourself, then you can eject Expo. So basically you have an Expo project and then you can eject it, so you will end up with this project. You can still maintain, and the code will be the same, but you will lose whatever is coming good with Expo. So Expo can build a binary files for you on both platforms. It has a lot of components. So for example, if we go to the docs expo.io, and you can see here I'm inside API reference. So any component here we have, any plugins that are, it's a huge library of different things that are available for us, and that's a part of the Expo. So basically if you will eject from Expo, you're kind of losing it that way. You can still mark to eject it with SDK Expo, so all the plugins will be also included there, but there will be no way that you can still develop other things using Expo as you used to do. So for example, in the API reference you have a lot of things to use. For example, if you would like to use camera, you have a plugin for that. So the reason to go React Native CLI is for something that Expo doesn't have, and if you need to have that in your application, and Expo lack of that, and then there is no plugin for that, and you will need to go for something native, then you need to eject it. And I will show you how we can do it and how actually our structure will change doing that. So this is what we have at the moment. We have Expo and Expo shared. What I will do here is I will do Expo, eject, and enter. So I will make it a little bit bigger. So how would you like to eject your application? And you can pick bear. I would like to bear React Native project, Expo kit. I will create a log in and with Expo account to use React Native and the Expo SDK. Or you can cancel. I will continue with my current project structure. So basically I would like to, what you could do is you have two options. You can cancel, but you can go bear React Native project. Yes, or you can also include whatever it's in the Expo as an Expo kit. So all the plugins and everything will be included there, and you will be still being able to use. We haven't used anything from there. So what I will do is I will do bear. I would like to bear React Native project here, and I will show you how this is different. So how should your app appear on the user's home screen? We'll need to give it a name. So I will do movie mobile all together. And then I can do the same. So what is happening here, you can see on the left-hand side, it will create two folders for us, iOS and Android here. So basically from that point, you will need to take care of the project by yourself. So you need to take care of everything here, and it will take a while to eject it. But pretty much if you go in Android here, I'm not sure it is already have everything here, but you will have a file that with a configuration. If you already done some native development, then you will be familiar with that. But basically you have the everything here that you normally could open that with Android Studio, and the same thing with the iOS. You can open that in Xcode and get it from there. But this has been ejected, so we kind of lose whatever Expo could offer us, but we still can run this application. So I can go cd iOS, and normally you will need to install pod. So I already have that installed, so I didn't need to do it. But if you would like to have the React Native CLI, you need to have the pod, and that's only for Mac, by the way. So what you can do here is you do yarn, and then you can run iOS or Android. I will just do iOS, and you can see here we found Xcode project. So this is our Expo project, and it's the same way as we would run it from the Xcode. But this time we run it with the yarn, so we can directly run it here. And the application is pretty much the same, but we kind of eject it, so we lose the Expo options that's giving us, and now we can fully control it, the build and all assets and everything, the configuration on our own, and we can actually create our own native plugin and use it inside the application. So that's the option. And if you will start straight away with this option, React Native CLI Quick Start, then you will have something like here. So I don't really recommend it that much, because it's not really, it doesn't give you that much power. It just gives you many cons for using that. So maybe Expo is a little bit slower. You still have that like embedded application inside the Expo applications. You won't be able to see the icon and everything like this. In fact, Expo gives you a lot of good things. So I wouldn't, if you don't have to go this road, then don't do it. And this error failed on build iOS. We ran Expo build command, but exceeded with error 65. I have no idea what is that, so I will need to debug it, but I am not going to bother to do it, because I just wanted to show you what will be the way to eject it and what will be the result. Basically the result is, actually I think it's still building that, so I might have that built in a second. Anyway, so you have iOS and then Android folders here, and you can maintain that by yourself and having Expo ejected from your project.